Hello and welcome to askLRR, the YouTube series where you ask LRR. That's right, if you're a YouTube member, you get to ask us questions every single month. So don't forget to put your questions in. And if you're not a YouTube member and you want to support us in some other way, you could become a YouTube member. We like that very much. Or you can support us at our Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. However you want to give us money, we're willing to take it, unless it's like some sort of OnlyFans feet pic situation. In that case, consent is king. Work it out between you and the person whose toes you need to see. This month, we have a whole selection of delightful and exciting questions for Beej, Matt, and myself, and we are happy to answer them. So let's kick it off with our first question. This question was sent to us by 3188 Rocker. Dear glorious askLRR team, I understand from your content and vids, y'all truly embrace your chaotic nature. As evidenced by the fact that I did not tell Matt or Beej that I'd be talking about some sort of OnlyFans feet situation. Does that nature rub off on your life partner? Or does it annoy and piss them off? And how do they cope with it? Let's move down the line. Matt, does it rub off on your husband?
I'm the only person here whose partner doesn't actively work for LRR
It's
already.
True. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But also, the chaos is my charm.
Mm.
It's why we're married today.
Yeah.
So, does it rub off on him? He's a guy that does my taxes for me. I would not say he is incredibly chaotic.
I've met Michael. He seems like kind of the even keeler on the two of your relationship.
And I need that. I need someone to ground me.
Hey, opposites attract.
Yeah.
I would say that Graham enjoys my chaos.
Great. Okay.
I hope he enjoys my chaos. No, I'm kind of chaotic in all the ways that don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to paying bills and stuff like that, I'm not particularly chaotic,
Right.
But if it's just like, what's for dinner? That's like kind of where I get that out. And occasionally, just spout off random things, make up songs, that kind of thing. It seems to work.
Yeah. I'm a goofball at home to try to make Heather laugh, or just even to just improve your mood, just to kind of like, even if it's not like this is not going to get a laugh, but it's going to be like, okay, you're being weird, and it's like, great. I'm glad you've noticed, and you're not frustrated by it. And hers the same. Like, it's the same thing. It's like she'll be a goof at home to improve my mood, and that's nice too. And it's like, that's kind of, I think you just need that in a partner regardless.
Yeah.
So, I have no idea whether that's I don't know if that's influence for me, because apparently she's always been kind of a goofball. So I think it's just the gentle encouragement of each other to let us do that.
You're each other's Roger Rabbit?
Yeah. It'd be better than being each other's Bob Hoskins.
Which one of you is the Jessica Rabbit in this situation? Is that you, Beej?
No, definitely not. I'm definitely not the Jessica Rabbit in this situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's some interpersonal dynamics. Read into them what you will. Next question. Kathleen, what is the origin story of Brave New Faves? Anything spicy planned for 2023, like special guests, maybe even a live performance? Asks Nicholas Velasco 8539. So this is all the numbers.
Yeah, I know, right? Couldn't get the actual. Oh wait, I think that's what they do now when they give you a nickname. Is that you end up with numbers in your name as well to make sure that there's no collisions. I'm not sure how that's.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so 8539 is not particularly relevant.
I think it's just being assigned
to our friend the Velasco.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, the origin was that it's named after the CBC, the defunct CBC show Brave New Waves. There is a long list of people within the CBC who would like to bring that show back and host it. However, the CBC, the mothership as they call it, has no interest in funding weird stuff. But I'm interested in weird stuff, and I thought it would be an interesting challenge to myself that if I had a stream where I had to put together a playlist of new music every week, I would make more time to listen to new music every week. And I really have. And it's introduced me to lots and lots of bands that I love and introduced my friends to some bands that they tolerate. And it's worked out pretty well.
Nice.
Anything spicy planned for 2023? No, I can have guests, but basically I have to have, there is a technological disconnect because I can't send audio separate of stream to my guest in a call from the home computer setup I have.
Right.
So I can't get monitor audio for them or something like that. So they only hear what goes out to stream, and it means I can't communicate with them unless I'm typing a message or something like that. And it's not super easy there's a lot of buttons to manage when you're hosting a stream and interviewing someone and managing all the technical stuff, and I just can't do it. So I need to get an outside person in to do it. Which means I need to pay someone to do it, which is not necessarily bad.
Okay.
But,
okay.
It means I need to I need to hire Corey, find time that he's available because he's a broadcast professional and he's not always free every Saturday night. He's got a life and all of these things, and it's kind of a big deal. So maybe if schedules work out, he's got long periods of blackout dates where he's I'm working, so I can't do it, right?
Right.
Why are you laughing when I'm
Just,
I gotta
it's
pay
it's
someone?
anything spicy for 2023, special guests. It's well, no, but let me give you the breakdown of how everything has been falling apart.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything mild planned?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, I do the thing every week, and it's hopefully engaging if you like it, and if it's not, don't watch it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people out there who love it.
Yeah.
And it's and if you're wow, where can I see this? Only the time I do it, because I don't do VODs.
The other question of a live performance, how would that? I'm guessing they mean at a con or something. Would you just roll up and be I'm gonna play music at you for an hour and we're gonna broadcast that? I mean, that seems like it's also complicated.
Or you bring a band in or something.
Well, I mean, I don't have the technical setup at home to do that.
See, we were thinking two different things for what a live performance means. Yeah.
I mean, I could have a band call in, but that's a tremendous amount of setup for the band.
Yeah.
And for Corey, because it's when you do a guest show, it's not just okay, rock up, you gotta communicate to people about what's going on and do tech tests and stuff like that. It's actually quite a bit of work to get a guest on the show.
Yeah.
You do a tiny desk concert type of situation where they have to crowd into this room and they have to all play together
at 9:30 at night. While my daughter is absolutely not asleep in the room next door, but just trying to pretend to be asleep.
Yep.
Yeah. As one does.
Yeah. No. I mean, maybe I can have someone come to my house. That just seems to be the easiest way of doing it, is just doing it in person.
Yeah.
Not impossible, but just on the scale of things that I have energy and spoons to organize. It's not been high up this year. I had plans to do it monthly in 2022, and then husband got sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was this is pretty low on my priority list.
The guests that you have in every time are your cats. Really?
They don't always show up every time, though.
Okay, well.
How unreliable,
They
Jesus.
I know. They could be getting me that cat viewership on Twitch, but no. So anyhow, no plans, but tune in if you want to hear weird music, I guess. All right, our next question comes from Console Handheld Gamer, who apparently avoided having numbers appended to their name.
Yeah.
In honor of Graham playing Final Fantasy XII, I'm going to ask favorite Dragon Quest game.
Nice.
Beej, do you have a favorite Dragon Quest game?
Dragon Quest IV.
Why?
I believe it's Dragon Quest IV, if I remember correctly. So I played the original. Got it with my Nintendo Power subscription, like I think a lot of people in North America will have done if you played it for the NES, and really loved that game. In fact, my friends would come over at lunch hour, so it'd be hey, it's lunch hour, everyone go to Beej's house, crowd in the basement, we play the game for a half hour, and then we all we hear the warning bell and we run back to school. I lived across the street from the school.
I was gonna say, how old were you when you were allowed to do this?
This is grade 4, grade 5.
Oh my God, they do not let kids leave the school grounds nowadays, Beej.
Yeah, I don't understand it why, but I'm not going to be an old man and have opinions about it yet. Anyway, so that was a lot of fun, and we did that for many, many weeks of playing that. But then I was also this is my game, damn it, I'm going to play it at home, and so I did. But anyway, years later, Heather was like, I bought this copy of Dragon Quest. I saw Final Fantasy up there, so I bought this copy of Dragon Quest 4, and I haven't played it yet. You look like you're looking for a game to play. You said you like Dragon Quest, right? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. She's like, well, here, why don't you just give this a shot? And I did. And what's great about it, and I think it was 4. I keep trying to remember because they put so many on the DS. It felt like it let you play as individual characters. You'd get a chapter where you just play as a character in one part of the world doing a thing. And that character was a specific type of character. So it was like, you're playing as this old soldier. So it's a very like attack defense based kind of thing that you're doing. But then in another one, it's like you're playing as this girl who's like the princess of a northern kingdom, and she has like these 2 guys who are coming with her. This is, one of them's a priest and one of them's whatever. It's like, so now you get to learn how to fight as like in a party, but also have somebody who's like devoted to this kind of magic and devoted to that kind of magic. And then in the next one, you get to Torneko, who is a merchant, and his whole thing is you have to walk back and forth between the 2 towns, and you're trading back and forth between the 2 towns, and you're learning the idea of like, well, there's these other ways to interact with the game, and you're kind of it's hours and hours of what feels like it could be classified as tutorial, but because they're giving you each your own little story, you actually get attached to each character. And so then when you become the hero, when the game actually starts after like 20 hours of playtime, the hero meets all these people as he goes on this adventure, and they integrate into your party, and you get to do things based on that.
You clearly have a favorite character, and it's the one named character.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the one because I remember Kirill, and I remember like Ragnar, who's the soldier, but Torneko made the biggest impression because I'm like, you want me to be a merchant in this game? It's all about like fighting monsters. I was like, no, there's more to this game than you expect.
There's more to life than killing.
And I've played some other stuff, like I played the demo for Dragon Quest Treasures, which I'm probably going to pick up at some point, and I played the demo for Dragon Quest 11S on the Switch, which was a lot of fun. But I also know that JRPGs, as a rule, have gotten larger and larger over the years, and which is why Treasures is interesting, because they kind of like we're taking it down to the smaller aspect, and that's what I was like. I want to go back to the thing of you could play this game in 20-25 hours and you could be finished it. And like that's what they want this game to be, is what it sounds like. Yeah. And then Dragon Quest Builders also looks like fun, and Heather's like, you should play that so you can finally play some Minecraft-ish type stuff. And I'm like, yeah, maybe we'll do that. We'll see what happens. So.
Yeah, I've only played a bit of the one that came out on the Switch that had the giant tree in the logo.
That might have been 11.
It might have been 11.
Okay.
It didn't super grab me. I'm used to the Final Fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Your characters get a lot of options generally, and it's more free form and almost faster paced in battle, I find.
Oh, okay, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
You're fighting with a party of people, so you only tend to do more, yeah.
Whereas Dragon Quest seems, I guess you could say, smaller in scope as a game. I mean, in the gameplay.
The original one was meant to be a Japanese guys being like, man, we loved Wizardry and we like Ultima. So what if we made our own version of that kind of game? It's like a Japanese version of an American RPG. And so it was like you play as a hero, and that hero does everything. And then eventually became you play as a hero and a party, and they all kind of split things up. But that was, Final Fantasy was make a party of people. It was more of the D&D kind of focused activity.
Early ones anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And that's now switched to being like, you have these people and they do this, and you don't get to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're dressed in weird things like a hot pink micro skirt.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very practical.
I was going to say a dress made out of belts is a weird thing, but hot pink micro skirt is good too.
They said Final Fantasy 12.
Which might have been the last Final Fantasy I liked.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Did you ever play any Dragon Quest games at all?
I did. I played some of 9, and I was like, what is the point of this? Am I just wandering around like getting bare asses? No. And pieced out after like 5 hours.
So you wouldn't like
the grind
Final Fantasy 14 then?
No, I've never played an MMORPG. Not even an award-winning one like Final Fantasy.
Where it's free to level 60?
Yeah, as tempting as that is, I just have that kind of personality that shouldn't get involved in that.
Fair.
I have a friend in Vancouver whose name is Mike, who has for a long time refused to even get an iPhone because he knew there was games that would go on the iPhone, and he really he loves video games, but he's also articling at the time and did not have the time.
Yeah.
He's like, no, this is important. My career is important. I've put so much time into this. I can't do it. But now he has an iPhone.
This will be a huge problem for me if I get an iPhone with games on it.
Yeah, he was like, as soon as I get something that plays some sort of FIFA game, I'm ruined. And I was like, all right, well, respect.
I like how you were basically training to be a streamer in grade 4.
Oh, I guess, yeah. Have all my friends come over to... Well, we would trade the controller, so I guess it wasn't all about watching me play, but, yeah.
Yeah, kids like to share.
Yeah. Parallel play.
I just wanted it to feel like we were all having a chance to do something. I wanted to play the most of all, like a lot, but it was also like you passed the controller around and we were all learning how the game was working, and it was more about like, this is also a good way to like get to hang out with my friends and to entice them to keep coming back to my house, because all that stuff about was like, you shouldn't be friends with somebody because of your stuff, and I'm like, hell no.
I've got good stuff. Be friends with me.
If I've got good stuff, come be friends with me, because that means that you'll have a good time, and then we'll actually have time to become friends. Because when you're shy as a kid and you don't really know, I still don't know how to make friends with adults, and it's like when you're shy as a kid, any trick you have to become friends with somebody and to kind of develop that relationship is everything you need to make that happen.
I've lived that life. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you have friends who are cooler than you, then you're like, I need them to come back. I need to know that they're going to come back and we can continue to be friends.
My social currency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's how to make friends and influence people to be your friend. What's the next question? What is your goofiest or most ridiculous tiny legacy? The smallest part of a small part of the world that you are at least partially responsible for existing, says the basest soldier. Ooh, I was the first person to put an interrobang on a magic card.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, 'cause
Nice.
That's awesome.
There's a magic card in on Infinity called "How is that a par 3?" and it's question mark exclamation point.
Right.
Because it's supposed to be like what? And of course, the correct punctuation for that emotion is an interrobang. So that's me. It's not technically it's not a pure interrobang, because I don't think they have that in the font, but it's a question mark exclamation point, which is the first time that punctuation has been used.
Yeah, because that exists in Unicode, so you can do it.
Yes.
Yeah, so for them to have to, do they actually end up layering the one over the other?
Let me. I think it
I'm
just might be
curious.
an exclamation point but the point being,
Yeah.
no magic card has ever had that before.
Absolutely, yeah. That's really cool.
I'll look it up.
In the meantime, Matt, do you have a tiny legacy?
I've probably done a couple things in my past. The farthest back I can remember, because my head's full of pudding, would be that I was the one that initially proposed the coffee that travels you through time for the Commodore Hustle script.
Ooh.
That's good.
And
I like that.
I just remember, like, that was one of the first ideas of mine that really, like, got into a script and made a script happen. So there's a little point of pride there.
It's not an interrobang. It's just a question mark and an exclamation point, by the way. I looked it up. It's still
Really cool.
It's still a ridiculous tiny legacy.
Yeah. I mean, you probably proselytized anime in the prairies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've made some weebs.
I mean, that's probably fair. Like the keeping. I mean, it wasn't just I was a part of keeping Animathon going for so many years, and I have no idea if they've kept it going or not. But
Not your problem.
But yeah, it's like, God, I'm trying to think of anything else that might have made it. I mean, it's funny because it's like the little impacts are more about like the little ripples in the pond, where it's like you do this and then you become a part of this, you become a part of that. And it's like, but what did I actually leave my stamp on? I mean, I wasn't the one who picked the Beej drop sound effect at all, but by writing that little sketch, we made a series of really stupid things that are really funny, and I'm like, this is good. I like that, but I know there's got to be something where I'm like, there's probably a better tiny legacy. And I read this the other night, and I was just like, I hope we don't do this one because I can't think of anything. But maybe I'll spend some time thinking about it and see what I can come up with. But nothing has occurred to me. So
what tiny thing are you proud of then? Not even like, oh, your legacy and all of that, and you're responsible for it. What are you proud of? That's just a small little thing.
I mean, the beach drop thing is probably one of the things I'm proudest of, so
What?
we'll leave it there.
I think that counts.
Yeah.
Beej drops, time traveling coffee, and implied interrobangs. Those are our legacies. Paul, what's our next question? Time for a cheesy question from Harold Price.
Oh, I think there we go.
What is your favorite type of cheese?
I actually really like Swiss Emmental.
Swiss cheese is good. I don't like sharp cheddar that much. It's not like I find the texture crumbly, and the flavor is good, but it's not my go-to eaten cheese. You know, people are like, "Oh, really want that sharp cheddar, aged 50 million years." You know,
Yeah.
have it just turn to dust on the plate. It's
In
like,
some monk's cave, aged. I like a good brie on bread.
oh, a warm brie.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a sharp cheddar that comes in a red plastic container with a black top, and I think it's called Imperial. It has a foil peel back thing. Anybody from Canada has probably had this maybe at some point or they've seen it in their supermarkets. I have no idea if you guys have it in other parts of the world. It is a sharp cheddar, and it's like a smooth. If you leave it out, it is a spreadable one. If you have it in your fridge, it stays fairly chunky and flaky and whatnot. Like it's a processed cheese product, but it is sharp cheddar, and I adore it. I blame my mother for this because it's also attached to childhood memories. Because like she would sit down, put food out or whatever, and she'd have like crackers and cheese for lunch if she felt like it that day. So, and cold meat and pickles and whatever else. And so one time I was home when she was doing that, and she's like, "I'm having this." I'm like, "Great, I love sausage." And then she starts like flaking this cheese off because it was from the fridge, and she put it on stone wheat thins, and she was eating it, and I'm like, it smelled amazing. Like I have no idea what this stuff was. She's like, "Do you want to try some?" I'm like, "Yes." And so I tried some, and I adored it. And she's like, "You can never have it when I'm not around." Was essentially because it's
you
like,
can't eat all my cheese.
yes,
Yeah.
that was the thing. It was like, do not go into the fridge and start eating all this cheese. This costs money. You can have this Kraft Singles all you want. I don't care. But you cannot eat this cheese while I'm not around. We will split it and we will enjoy it. And she tried. My dad, my brother, her and me love this cheese. And we're all about it.
Cheesy duo.
Yeah.
I have a very stupid question.
Sure.
So
Well, I'll evaluate that, I guess.
you watch a lot of YouTube stuff.
I think I do, yeah.
You know about the channel of the guy making knives out of different materials?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Did he make a cheese knife?
Did he ever make a knife made out of sharp cheddar?
I don't know. I've only seen a lot of that stuff mostly in passing. I never. He made one out of milk.
He
But
made
sharp
one,
cheddar would be amazing.
yeah, out of milk, out of like cardboard.
I feel like a cheese knife out of cheese is a no-brainer for a channel like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know what my favorite cheese is. It depends. I like cheese in general. I'm not the kind of person who's just going to sit down and eat slices of cheese, though. Like,
Right.
I'm not a cheese and crackers kind of person as a snack.
Yeah. Like we've now all enjoyed some raclette recently.
Yeah,
which is fun, but
it's
I'm like,
very
it's not
good.
my favorite.
Oh, I liked it a lot. Maybe Parmesan. Useful, delicious.
Yeah,
Goes
yeah,
in
yeah.
lots of things.
Some delicious Parmesan.
It's because thinking about I'm trying to go through all like Red Leicester and do the cheese shop sketch essentially in your head, right? You're like Wensleydale, and it's like how many of those
Wensleydale's good, though.
how much of those got mentioned where I was like, have I had them, and B, do I like them more than just this sharp cheddar spread, or like I said, Swiss Emmental, which is like I like that cheese too.
Do you like a good chèvre? Not chèvre.
I've had it mixed with like where they do the thing where they mix it with like compote or whatever. I love it when they do
so
that.
good.
Yeah. But eating it on its own, I'm like, not as much.
What
So
about in a quiche with like nice caramelized leeks?
sounds good too, actually.
So good. Yeah.
And it's healthy because it has leeks in it.
Yes.
Leeks are a vegetable. So Swiss Emmental / Armstrong aged cheddar spread.
Imperial.
Imperial, sorry. What brie?
Brie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Brie.
any cheese depending on the situation.
Depending on the mood.
Yeah. Oh, manchego's really good.
Oh, nice.
Nice Spanish cheese. All right, next question. Hey folks, I know you all wear various hats in terms of helping get lure made, and was wondering if you could shed some light on on good skill sets for herding cats, keeping the lights on, and getting news to print on time in creative collectives or collaborative efforts in general.
You're the only person here who has cats, so you should start, I think.
Probably. That was a question from TK Facey Face GZ.
It is a facey face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like kind of kind of face. I think if you are working in a collaborative setting, I think it's very easy for some people to be like, this is what I think we should do because I'm loud and I have opinions. And I have like a strong creative vision, and it's great that that people have strong creative visions, and people with strong creative visions are generally bound to create. But it's always good to like circle back in and give opportunities to other people to contribute, and like one-on-one time maybe if they're like not as keen to like throw in ideas and stuff like that, and like proactively invite people to give their input and stuff. Yeah, and just generally like checking in with people and seeing what kind of management style works for them is really good. Like not everybody, some people can be like, Matt's pretty self-directed. You can be like, here you go, Matt, please have it done by then, and it will show up at the deadline, right? Like, but some people need a little bit more guidance, which I'm not necessarily good at because I'm also a self-directed person, but you got to keep in mind that not everybody works the same way or thinks the same way or asks the same question. So, how could you help include them and foster them in that creative process?
Oh, me. Okay.
Yeah. That was my idea.
Great. Okay.
Go Beej.
Patience is probably the hardest thing to cultivate continually. Especially, because if you're talking about the nature of herding cats is that you have to be like, I know we'll get there eventually. I know we'll get there eventually. I know we'll get to the point where, that it's like when it comes to actually like herding people or trying to get people to all come together to work on the thing that it is that you want them to work on, when any sort of collaborative, whatever, it's like being able to say, okay, well, don't let yourself like wind yourself up so much that you can't that you can't work through it. Like you need a place to vent. I think everybody needs places to vent, but it's like cultivating patience is a really good idea, and also working on finding your system of time management that can work for you, which is really difficult, like really difficult. Because some people, like Heather, is very good at, I have a book, and I will journal, and it's some people use that as also a psychological balm as well, like a way to manage a lot of those of feelings of frustration or whatever. Journaling's a good way to do that, but also as a means of organizing your time and understanding what your tasks are. And I know that when I've made lists in the past, I'm usually good with a list for like a short period of time. And then that list gets forgotten about. It gets put somewhere else. I'm like, so there are other ways. My thing that I discovered that works for me when I was doing a lot of help desk stuff was ticketing is one thing, but the other thing is saying to people when they catch me in the hallway, it's like, hey, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, you send me an email about that, and I will ensure that thing gets done. And they're like, but I'm telling you right now. I'm like, cool. So if you don't care about it getting done, telling me here is exactly
when I'm in the middle of something else and not like anywhere I could write it down.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, the thing is, for me too, it's like I'm not going to take out a notebook and write your stupid fucking request down in my notebook and then go back to my desk and go through my notebook for the day. It's like, you want that thing done? Email the help desk. Don't worry, we'll take it. We'll make sure it gets done.
Yeah.
But it's just, to me, it's like, I find it such an incredible imposition when I was doing desktop work, where people would just ask me shit in the hallway while I'm trying to do things. I'm like, if you were teaching a class and somebody walked in on you where you're teaching classes, hey, by the way, I know you look busy, but can you do this thing for me like tomorrow or by tomorrow, whatever? Thanks. You'd be like, what are you doing? I'm in the middle of my job. I'm in the middle of doing the thing that I'm doing. It's like, don't come to me now, come to me over here. And yet all those profs were always like so happy to just interrupt whatever the hell I was doing and be like, hey, I could really use some help with whatever. I'm like, cool. Put it at the help desk. I will make sure that I get to it in time. It is still a pet peeve of mine to this day, as you can tell. It still frustrates me that people act like that. So, yeah, it's finding the system that works for you and then helping everyone understand what your system is, and then doing your best to work with their systems as well and being like, they work a certain way, so I need to work with what they want. Like, I'm trying to be better at work to post stuff in our Slack at times when it's going to a lot of people, at times when people should actually normally be awake, as opposed to, oh, I just had this idea at 2 a.m. So let me write this thing in the Slack, and then let me cause a bunch of like anxiety for people who are trying to sleep.
Counterpoint: most people have their notifications turned off at night, and if you have a good idea at 2 a.m. and you need to write it down, just send it to me. I'm not gonna look at it till the morning.
Right, but we now know what each other's thing is, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, it's kind of nice to be like, I'll set Slack to post this thing that I want to send everybody at 10 a.m. and that's fine. And then I don't have to think so much about it. But in cases where I'm like, I know I can work with a person in a certain way, it's like, I can just send them this thing now and they should be fine with that. So
Yeah.
we know that. We know that because we've established that.
Yeah. Be respectful of other people's work times and habits. For example, I do a lot of work between like 9 p.m. and midnight, but that's just like the free time I have, right?
Yeah.
So that's when it has to get done. But I know that, and like, when we work with Featherweight, I can ping him at that time and he's awake.
Yeah.
Because he's a night owl. But if I ping him at 10 a.m., which is like normal working time, he's not going to see it.
Yeah.
So, everyone's different.
I know one thing neither of you mentioned is something you could call, I guess, ego management, which really you can only approach completely for yourself. Is like, if you are in a collaborative situation and someone passes over your suggestion to go to someone else's, you have to control your ego in that moment to think, that's not a slight on me or my work. It's just in this moment, there was a different option that we went with. That is, like patience, something you need to practice.
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's like taking any sort of criticism, be it like implied or direct criticism. It's like there's being able to process that.
Yeah.
It
can be a good idea in the wrong time.
Yeah.
Good idea, bad situation for said idea. Put it in the box, come back to it later.
Sometimes, yeah.
Or even just getting revisions for your work, like a list of things that you want changed. That can also be a bit of an ego bruise if you take it the wrong way, or just understand that it's part of the process. It's part of the work.
Yeah.
Especially with creative work. There's no technical right answer or wrong answer. It's just how the person in charge wants it.
I've commissioned artwork before, and I felt so anxious about, once they sent the draft, me going back like, I would like these changes, please. Because I didn't want to ego bruise.
Absolutely,
Right?
yeah.
But that's just part of the process.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Kathleen, your radio program has introduced me to genres of music I wasn't normally listen to. Therefore, Matt and Beej, are there any unique genres or of specific interests, not necessarily music, that you would recommend to people blindly?
Blindly's amazing.
Here in Amero.
Blindly is the big thing there.
I never recommend music to people just off the top of my head.
Isn't it great to not do that?
Because the thing is, some people are like, oh, you really like music. Do you have any suggestions for me? And my first question is always, well, what do you already like? What kind of music do you like? What are your favorite bands? And then it can kind of, like, I do like an iterative process. It's like, oh, I like kind of like, electro heavy stuff. It's like, oh, have you heard of a band called Black Dresses? Well, that's too heavy for me. It's like, okay, well, we'll step it back a bit. And then, that kind of thing, right?
The vibe check, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I want it heavier. All right. Well, in that case,
I have a friend that's a real metalhead. They know the list.
Yeah, you gotta like, I try not to just inflict my taste on any, well, I guess I have a whole radio show. But those people are opting in by watching.
That's right, exactly.
And you have the suggestion portion of the show as well.
Yeah, and I'm always very clear, like, hey, just because it's not for you doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not for you, and that's fine. You don't have to like everything, and not everybody has to like what you like.
Yeah.
That makes the world more interesting.
You basically went over
Oh.
how you would not say blindly watch the thing, but I think people should give disco music more of a chance.
Oh, hey, that's cool.
That should have
All right.
a comeback, some of that Donda Sumbers. You should try that.
disco music is historically maligned because it was sort of associated with black and gay culture.
Yeah.
Not because it was necessarily bad, although there are derivative and not very interesting artists in every genre.
Yes.
True.
And
Fair.
the things
yeah.
that hit the top of the charts are not always the best representatives of a, movement of music or something like that.
Yeah.
I would say adults don't watch enough animation. I have a whole thing I do every 3 months, right? Where it's like, let's sit down and look at anime. But I mean, just in the broader scope, I think adults don't watch enough animation. And I think that's... So C.S. Lewis has a quote that everyone likes to throw around. Was it him? Was it Kipling? We're going to figure out if I can remember whose this quote was again.
Just some dude.
The quote was, when I became a man, I put away childish things. And everyone's like, aha, yes!
It's from Ghost in the Shell.
Fucking got you. Well, but that's like, that's from, one, I forget who said it. I think it was C.S. Lewis. Could have been Kipling for all I know. Kipling's thing was, anyway, doesn't matter. It does. But when I was a child, I put away childish things. And everyone stops there because they're like, aha, I've got you. You can't watch My Little Pony anymore. And I'm like, read the whole fucking quote. When I was a child, I put away childish things. And the second part of that thing is including the idea that there are such things as the world that are childish.
So I Googled it, and
Yeah.
I'm getting Corinthians. So
Sure.
it's like a Bible verse. When I understood as a child, I thought as a child, I felt as a child, I reasoned as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Now, and then there's more of that. Hold up.
I did not know that was from the Bible.
Well, Kipling or C.S. Lewis absolutely could have taken that as a jumping off
I think they've
point.
referenced
Especially
that.
C.S. Lewis.
But
He
there
was
was-
like stealth, quite religious.
Yeah, and that idea of that, including the idea that including the idea that there are childish things in this world.
That was a C.S. Lewis extension on that quote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When
I
I-
only just Googled the first part of it.
When I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up.
Yes. And that's the thing, is that we all work towards that. Like, as a kid, you get this whole thing, oh, you should grow up, oh, you should do this, you should do whatever. And we've kind of had this renaissance of people coming around. We watched Hook the other day. And Hook, if nothing else, is a movie, is definitely an idea of like, this is what happens when an eternal boy grows up and then realizes that, wait, I've spent all this time not being who I really was, which was this eternal boy, which would actually put me back in touch with my family again. Of whatever themes are actually, of all the themes that might be built into Hook. And it's a fun movie. It is definitely of its era, but
Somewhat
it's a fun movie.
antithetical to the original novel.
Yeah, but that idea of like you can have fun and you can enjoy yourself and you enjoy all your interests and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, and I think that's what gets animation maligned so much by so many people, and the fact that Pixar really helped push this idea in the West of you can watch a movie that is animated and we're going to sneak in a bunch of stuff about all these themes that you can put in a movie because we've made it computer generated. So therefore, it's technology, and that's something that adults do, is technology. And so we'll all go watch a 3D animated film because look at the amazing stuff they can do in this 3D animated film. And wow, that's amazing to watch. And we can enjoy a nice family movie that is built around this amazing technology, but what you just did is sat down and watched an animated film. It's like people being like, I'm not going to watch kids' cartoons, but they're like, oh, but Beauty and the Beast is such a classic. It's such a beautiful movie, like that kind of thing. I'm like, yes. So work with that, people. Like keep kind of pushing through that. You can find a lot, like Ghibli films are amazing for everybody to watch, and you don't have to, like. We were working a theater. This is going to get long. I'm sorry. We were working a theater at the Anime Club was working a theater because they were showing Mononoke Hime.
Princess Mononoke for all you non-weebs.
And they were this movie is 14A, and we were working like showing off like, hey, we're the local anime club in town. Ask us questions about stuff. We will help like familiarize you with stuff. We're a bunch of guys in university, yes, obviously, but we have a club, and if you're interested and you're all this kind of stuff, you might want to join. We're also running the Animathon. and we saw multiple people walk into that film with like 8-year-old kids.
Oh no, that's not a movie for children.
And we all looked at each other just kind of like, are you kidding me? Don't do this. And we all sat there like, okay, and now. And then all of a sudden people start coming out of the film with their kids in tow. And it's the part within like the first 10 minutes where the monsters are out and are crawling around and the guy gets his arm shot off with an arrow and it's pretty grisly. And I'm like, yeah, dude, it said 14A on the thing for a reason. You don't take your kids to an animated film because you're like, oh, it's a cartoon and they'll love cartoons. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's animation can be for different levels of maturity, I guess you could put it that way.
I've heard a theory that the animated shows on TV, like Big Mouth and all of that,
Yeah.
are purposefully made kind of ugly so that parents are going to think these are separate from
like
the kiddish looking
Oh, interesting.
ones.
the cute kitty looking cartoons.
Because Big Mouth, to my knowledge anyway, is not for children.
But
No.
It's
weirdly,
an adult comedy.
kids are also a fan of the grotesque.
Yeah.
Like they're really into that kind of thing.
Really
Like,
are, yeah.
kids love horror films. I didn't realize that kids are like, because as a kid, I hated horror films, but I didn't realize that, horror is one of those things that actually really appeals to kids. And like, they have those ugly monster things that you can buy, those cuddly toys that are all really ugly and weird. And it's like, yeah, kids love that stuff too. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize kids are as much of a fan of that stuff. I never was. so.
Kids love gross things. Penelope went through a whole phase where she thought poo and pee jokes were the funniest things in the universe.
Yeah.
And there was like Garbage Pail Kids
Yeah.
when we were kids. Kids just like gross things.
Yeah. So my thing is, if you want me to recommend something to you blindly, you should watch more animation. And I don't give a crap anymore if it's Japanese or American or if it's Eastern European. Just watch more animation and enjoy that, because there's so much stuff you can do in animation that it's harder to do. It's less hard to do now because every Marvel film is an animated film. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just follow the recommended viewing ages.
Yeah. Not for some things are not for children.
Yeah.
Next question. What's been a special interest for you so far in 2023? Says Pinball Witch 5256.
I'm trying to game a little more.
The year is young.
Yeah.
You're trying to play more video games?
Yeah.
Well, I showed Paul a picture of it before we started filming this. In the next couple weeks, I'm going to be acquiring a pup.
Ah, good. Okay.
So dog stuff is your new special interest of 2023.
Dog stuff.
That'll be a lot
Dog
of work.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little whippet puppy. The registered name, I think, is something like Meadow Mouse Mischievous Mermaid. Because dog registration names are stunning and wonderful things.
That's true. Finnegan has some sort of weird, stupid name that I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
His name is Finnegan.
The litter name for the puppy that we picked out is Smarty Pants. I think another one in the litter is named Ahab. For some
Okay.
reason.
Great.
What the call name we're gonna have for the dog is Juniper.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you kept dogs before?
Not me. We have friends in town who have dogs, so we're gonna get hand-me-downs from them.
Oh, but you've never like when you were a kid, you never had a dog or anything like that? I just want to know how new of an experience it's going to be.
I have the vaguest recollection. My parents refute this.
Okay.
That when I was a baby, like starting to walk age, we had a golden lab or retriever
Sure, yeah.
named Sandy that apparently died before I could remember it
But you remember it.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's my personal experience.
You
with
didn't really
dogs.
grow up with a dog. Okay.
No.
Okay, that's
Cats.
cool. You excited for this, though?
Yep. It's literally one of the promises my partner made to me when we were getting married.
It's in
Yes.
your vows.
Did you get
Not
a
in the
dog?
vows,
Okay.
but
It's
is
in
that
the contract they signed beforehand.
we're going to get a condo and we're going to get a dog.
Nice.
And you got the condo.
Yeah.
So now it's time for the dog.
Yeah.
What am I interested in?
It sounds like a gay love song. I'm sorry, but it really does.
We need a fur baby.
know if I've developed any new special interests in 2023. I have enough special interests. Worrying about what social network
Oh yeah.
I will be able to ply my trade on.
I'm enjoying the fact that this weird diaspora has happened, which is funny that diaspora is another social network. But this weird diaspora has happened where people are like, "What do we do?" And it's like, yeah, it's a brave new world.
Yeah.
Things are breaking, and I guess we'll see what happens.
We
And who knows if we picked the right one?
we kind of had it easy for like 15 years there, where there was one or two main ones that everyone just kind of assumed and relied upon. But tech doesn't really work that way in the long run most of the time.
Yeah. When you kind of like having it almost feels like though there's an inevitability to it though, right? That it's like at some point something like Twitter was going to have to go through a process of winding itself down for whatever reason. Like you just might see something like that happen, or you might see Facebook have the same kind of thing happen. Is that these companies don't tend to last forever, even though they want people to keep using them forever.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting to see that it's like new things have taken off all the time. So Snapchat was up and coming, and then and Instagram, and then like in WhatsApp and all that, and everything was kind of coming up all together, and all these things are bubbling up, and everyone's doing all these things, and it's like sure, that's great. And the like Friendster doesn't exist anymore, and Orkut really isn't a thing, and all that. And it's like sure, kind of like Blip and Rever
Or Google Plus.
Exactly, right? Like things can, even big companies can have things that don't work out. And so it's kind of like, oh, this is the next big thing that is kind of feeling like it's not going to work out as well.
There was that rocky beginning of public video on the internet just because of how expensive it was to host it all, where there were how many different places, and LRR
We just hosted our own, right, Paul?
Yep.
refused
He
to
nodded.
jump onto YouTube right away because it was kind of bad at the beginning, and which one is actually the good place to go.
Oh, well.
It could happen again.
It's part of the process.
Yeah. We'll see what happens when it happens again.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. All right. Last question. Have you ever wanted a secret passageway in your room or home? If you have the chance to build a home in the future, would you seriously consider installing a secret path or room, or would practicality and cost likely win out? If I was in a position to build my own house, 100% I would put in a secret passage. Are you joking? That's not even how much could it possibly cost?
$5.
Just put it in a book, put a bookcase door up, right? That's the easiest way of doing it.
I've even thought that I even consider the butler staircase or whatever, when they have the staircase in the front of the house and they have the staircase off the kitchen in the back of the house.
Yeah.
I've even taken that as being like, that's a secret passage to me, because it's just like, this is a weird, you don't need a staircase here. But
No.
you have one,
It's a side route.
Yeah.
When I read this question first, I was like, okay, but what two rooms are getting connected together?
Well,
How could you really mess with people's minds? So one of them has to be in a room. Well, both of them have to be in rooms that your guests aren't just gonna be in, so they
Right.
don't see you going in or leaving.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like the idea of my guests discovering a secret passage, though. I mean, I don't
Sure.
tell them it's there.
Yeah. That's why I'm thinking, like, one of the sides of it could be maybe not like in the bathroom, so only one person's ever going in and no one's really following you in there,
Right.
and they can on their own discover that it's there.
So
Except it also sounds extremely creepy to have a secret passage in your bathroom.
yeah, I wouldn't do the bathroom secret passage, because also there's water and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I've already thought a lot about if I was going to build my own house, how I would build it.
Right.
And I would build it as in it would be a 2-story house, just because I like stairs.
Yeah.
And it would be a square that surrounded a courtyard.
A donut.
Well, a square.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
a
live
square
in a
donut.
torus.
And then all of the interior rooms on the bottom floor would open out into this courtyard.
Yeah.
So you'd have a
Yeah.
completely enclosed courtyard, so you could let cats in and out and stuff like that. And you'd have trees in there. It'd be really nice.
I think that's kind of, I don't know how standard it is now, but that definitely is like the family home in, I think, like Indonesian
Oh, yeah.
that region.
It just seems really cool because then, it would basically probably, if you're building it in a North American lot, you wouldn't have a lot of outside space that wasn't in this courtyard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Because you would kind of push the edges of your house more towards the edges of the property.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then, all my yard is private because it's insulated by the rest of my house.
Yeah.
And, yes, I have windows that look out onto, neighbors' properties and yards and stuff like that.
It's a very old-style Japanese idea of building a courtyard in the middle of your house.
It just seems really practical. I get to enjoy my very, very, very private interior space.
Yeah.
And it would have wonderful flow through.
Yeah, it would be like a shortcut in the summer. You don't have to walk all the way around the outside of the house. You can just walk through the middle.
I'm just thinking as someone who has lived in apartments and condos now that only have maybe 2 windows that have 0 flow through.
Yeah.
In summer, you actually get a cross breeze.
Oh,
going.
yeah, for sure. You can have stuff go right through. It'd be so nice.
Yeah.
I have always wanted a secret passageway, not a room, but a secret passageway between rooms in my house. I mean, from watching Webster, which is an old sitcom where a fairly affluent white family adopts a black kid, one of the many that came out during that time, and he had a secret passageway, I think, from his closet down to behind a grandfather clock in the main room, but there was a couple in the house. I don't quite remember how it all works out, but there was just I don't know why. It was like a flavor note they added to the show because it really had nothing to do with the show, but it was more about how he could kind of move around in the house however he wanted to do it. And I think they just decided to do it this way.
And it's great cover for continuity.
Yeah.
If they're going through the wrong door, you
yeah,
can just say, they went through the secret passage.
It was really weird because it's and it's only he was very small, so for him it's he could fit through that, and it never really occurred to me that it's you'd have to have stairs in there and have to have whatever else, or a fire pole or whatever else you'd have to have in that space. I'm I love the idea of the passageway. If I was to build a home, no, I would absolutely not build a secret path or a secret room because I'd have to maintain that. And if it's secret, there's no windows into there, there's no light into there. And if you want to feel like a secret path, you can't really finish it.
Yeah.
You can't drywall and paint it and do whatever. It's got to feel kind of cramped to make it feel like a secret passage. It's got to have unfinished walls. It's got to feel like this got buried behind other stuff and you don't know that it's there. And then I've got fucking spiders and bugs and stuff setting up in this place. And I'm I don't know if I like this idea all of a sudden.
What if you reframed it as a crawl space you could walk through?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So it's actually maintenance. So you get easy access to whatever plumbing.
Right.
So it runs behind the bathroom, not through the bathroom.
If I could have the house from Encanto, I would take that in a heartbeat because that house is self-cleaning. And you'd be I can work between the walls of the rooms because I know that the house is going to look after itself. Yes.
It expels its own spiders.
Exactly. Then I'm okay, then I'll have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, secret passage all the way. It'd be you're in the lounge suite area, sort of there's bookcases along the back wall and stuff like that. And you think, it's just a narrow hallway on the other side, but there's a little tiny stairwell. It's a little secret shortcut to the top floor or something
It's
like
so
that.
appealing.
Yeah, you can come out directly in some room upstairs. I don't know. I'm fantasizing about my dream house.
If you could get a pulley system, so you have
a dumbwaiter.
Yeah. Or just a one-person elevator, but you have to operate it by pulling yourself up and down. A set of braked pulleys that are kind of you can't just let it go and fall to the bottom floor, but
You kind of have to do that because if you had the actual machinery
yeah.
for it, then it would be
loud.
loud.
Yeah.
Not secret at all.
to crank in the thing to kind of be I
It's
just
the
keep
kind of
cranking.
elevator that doesn't stop moving. That you just kind of have to
Oh,
hop on.
a paternoster.
A paternoster.
Yeah.
That's what you need in your house. Is
Yes.
a paternoster. People are what is that? Oh, the fridge is real loud.
It's constantly running.
Yeah. Well, fridges are always running.
That's
That's the classic joke.
Yeah, it's true.
I just learned a new word. Paternoster?
You don't listen to Quirpline, huh?
I don't.
Season 1, there was
There's a paternoster.
Yeah.
It's been several years since I listened to that season.
It's true, yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for all the questions, unless there's more questions.
No.
Paul
no.
is shaking his head at me in a vigorous yet moderated manner. So that means we're done.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for everybody who sent in questions for this month's askLRR. As a reminder, if you have a burning question that you wish to ask a rotating selection of Loading Ready Run mega internet personalities, well, then you can do so by becoming a YouTube member, and then you get to put your questions in every month. So do that, and if you like supporting us, consider YouTube memberships or our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Until next time, bye everybody!
Bye.